Alright, too, we were back, of course, talking that Final Fantasy 9. It's been a little bit. I don't know when the last time was that we did like an FF9 Remake video. So I figured it is about time. And we got a bit of an update from our boy Nader the Hater. Sort of. It's an update, but it's also not really an update. That'll make sense in a second. It's a bit of a strange situation with Final Fantasy 9 Remake and Nate the Hate, because the last thing that I think we'd talked about on the channel, maybe the last thing that he'd really kind of talked about in general with 9 Remake, was that it maybe was potentially canceled, right? But he's supposed to look into that. And as far as I'm aware, we've never got a fault to that, which I find, again, to be strange. I said this, I think, the last few times we talked about it on the channel, is whoever you get your information from, I don't know how that works with him. Like, how is it not just a simple message? Hey, is 9 Remake canceled? Yes or no? Like, I don't understand why there's not, like, been a follow-up. It's just weird to me. Does he get his information by carrier pigeon or something? I don't know. So anyways, the update, not update, this person asked Nate, hey Nate, do you have news about Final Fantasy 9 Remake? Is it canceled or is it still in Square Enix's plans? He says, have no new information to share. For now, I'd assume the game is on ice, and the unknown is whether Square Enix will return to it or not. So that's why it's an update, not an update. It's just his assumption that the game is on ice, and that whether or not Square Enix is going to return to it is like kind of the question. It's not like his inside source or whatever told him that the game is on ice. Just what Nate thinks or feels is going on with the 9 Remake currently, right? It's not anything substantial in terms of like, no different than me and you talking about it. What we think is going on with the 9 Remake. So it does say he has no new information. So I assume whoever he's supposed to check with to check whether or not the game was actually canceled or not never gave him anything, never responded or something. I don't know. Do I believe the game is on ice? Maybe, I guess. I don't fucking know. I don't know what they're doing with the game. It doesn't make any sense at this point, because this shit's been known for a long time. Been known for like 4 years at this point, but because it's a part of the Nvidia leak, means they started some sort of conceptual stages of that game probably years before the Nvidia leak itself, right? So like, in theory, the fucking 9 Remake has existed in the Square Enix bubble for quite a long time. I mean, for example, the recently released Tactics Evil's Chronicles, which was a part of the Nvidia leak as well, kind of the last two holdouts from that, right, were 9 Remake and Tactics. They started conceptualizing that game as far back as 2018. Now, they didn't really start development on it until after 16 was completed, which was like kind of mid-2022 or so. It took about 3 years to make the game, roughly. But the point is, the Tactics Evil's Chronicles was conceptualized like 3 years before the Nvidia leak happened, right? So, in theory, potentially, the 9 Remake is in kind of a similar situation. Like, that game's been existing in the Square Enix bubble for kind of creeping up on a decade at this point, right? And it's like, why that game isn't released, or at least publicly known from Square Enix, like announcing it or something, I have no idea. So is the game on ice? I guess, man. I don't fucking know. Now, as for development on 9 Remake and like where that would be or when that began, that kind of comes down to who's actually making the game. The biggest rumor's always been Yoshida and Creative Studio 3, right? And if that is the case, they're obviously actively making Final Fantasy 14, and then they obviously did 16, and then Tactics Evil's Chronicles. So maybe the 9 Remake isn't actually that close to being done, and maybe it is on ice currently. I don't know. If it's a different studio within Square Enix that is making the 9 Remake, then I don't know how far along it would be, or again, when actual development would have started. We've been told in the past by other sources that the game was, pretty far along or close to being done, or kind of in like a polishing stage, but whether or not any of those things were ever true, especially considering like Midori was kind of the main source for a while and their information wasn't always correct, I don't know. I've also seen it suggested by people that Square Enix may be seeing the Memoria project, which was made by fans, right? And it looks really damn good, and there's a decent chance, depending on what they would be doing with the 9 Remake, that it wouldn't look as good. And if Square Enix, this big-ass multi-billion-dollar company, by comparison, can't do as good as fans can do, that would look bad. So maybe they kind of went back to like make the game look even better, or comparable at least to Memoria. I think there's a bit of merit to that, especially if it is Creative Studio 3, just because if you look to the Evil's Chronicles, it's a wonderful game. I think visually it's not that interesting, just because it's like just better versions of the original and or Where the Lines, right? It looks better than those two versions for sure, but it's not as good as like the HD 2D remakes we see from Square Enix, like Dragon Quest 1 through 3 and stuff, right? Like, I do find it kind of strange they didn't do that graphical style for the Tactics Remaster. I think it's a perfect game for that, and it would put it over the top. I already think it's like the best version of Tactics, the optimal way to play it for sure. There's not really a reason to play War of the Lines anymore outside of the additional content that's not available in Evil's Chronicles, and there's not really a reason to play the original version of the game that's also kind of available anyways with Evil's Chronicles. So I do think it's the best way to play the game. I'm just missing that kind of graphical touch, that kind of like modern visuals for an older game, right? And if it is, again, Creative Studio 3 that's making the 9 Remake, I could see them maybe going the route similar to Tactics of not like pushing the visuals as hard. And then we get the reveal of the Memoria project, and it's maybe better than what Square Enix is doing with 9 Remake, so maybe they went back to the drawing board. To be clear, I don't really give a shit about graphics. It's not something that, compels me to buy a game or something like that. I don't really give a fuck. If the game can look better, I'm down for that, of course, but it doesn't really matter. So whatever the 9 Remake would have been, I was just there for, right? Just wanted a kind of modern version of FF9 with some like quality of life enhancements, because there's definitely some shit that needs to be changed from the original for sure, as great of a game as it is. I was just there for it. So if for some reason that is the reason the game's got put on ice, it's kind of a dumb reason. But also if they're just kind of like putting the game on hold for now, like, you've kind of missed opportunity anyways, right? You kind of missed that window where there's all that excitement, because it was kind of slowly building from 2021 till, you know, this year, really. Just constant hype building, especially with the 25th anniversary being this year. If you're not going to release the goddamn remaster or remake of the game, whatever, in the quarter century anniversary, like, what's even the fucking point anymore? Like, if we drop the game next year, like, I'm there for it. If we drop the game in the next couple years, I'm still there for it, but it's like, the hype's fucking gone, dude. I will still buy the remake because I'm an FF9 fan, but my god, did y'all miss y'all's window. By the way, we're not having the conversation about whether or not the 9 remake ever existed, because clearly it did. Especially when you look at the Nvidia leak, and especially Square Enix's part of that Nvidia leak. Like, every fucking game on there that wasn't already revealed has come out, except for 9 remake, right? So, and the fact that, like, the fucking Tactics remaster was real, the last 2 games, it's like, obviously 9 remake is a real game. And then among the other leaks and things we've had over the last couple of years, and then insiders and stuff like that, including Nate the Hate, like, clearly the game was real, especially with how much they put into the 25th anniversary this year. Like, you don't just do that for no reason. It's a wonderful game, and I'm glad they're celebrating its anniversary, but, like, there clearly would have been something with it. It's just a matter of what they're doing with the remake now. If it's on ice permanently, are they waiting maybe till fucking 2030 for the 30th anniversary? I don't know. But actually, really quickly, going back to Creative Studio 3, and Yoshida talking about the 9 remake, you know, potentially existing, whether or not it did, and what they would do with it, he did talk about it maybe being, like, a big thing. Kind of comparable to 7 Remake, where it'd maybe be a multi-part release thing. It'd be a massive undertaking to do it. And he's always been kind of like teasing the projects he's working on, right? So we've always kind of assumed that maybe he's making it. And if what he said is true, maybe that's what's taken so long. Maybe it is like a massive scale remake of FF9. It'd be kind of crazy to do that. But that's what he said. You know, he teased like the Tactics stuff, you know, before they ever officially revealed the game. And it was him that was doing it. He's talked a lot about the 9 remake, and he said it'd be a multi-part release and whatever. So maybe that's what's taking so long. It's not a smaller scale remake like we've always kind of assumed or been told. That's just another idea to throw out there potentially. Like, because I really just don't know why. I don't know what's taking so long. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if the game has been developed or made for the last, like, however many years at this point, like, why would it need to be on ice? It should already be done. Outside of going back and wanting to change the game up a lot based on maybe the Memorial Project or some other shit, I don't know. But, like, this shit should be done. Like, if it is Creative Studio 3, they're obviously making a bunch of games at one time, so that can maybe be why maybe they never really started development until sometime after, like, Tactics Evil's Chronicles was actually, like, finished development. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I just can't make sense of it. Because, like, all signs point to this game should have already been fucking at least announced, much less already out at this point. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Fuck. That'll be your update, not update, on the FF9 remake, my dudes. What are your thoughts, though? What do you think's going on with this game? It clearly is a real game, or at least it was at one point. But what's going on with it now? Why hasn't it been revealed? What kind of remake is it? Or were they scared by the Memorial Project? I don't know. What do you think's happening? But my dudes, that'll be the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Show us in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, dashingdavidbusiness. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.